Story 1. How do I tell my daughter that her older sister is actually her biological mother? So me, 53 male, and my wife Rose, 53 female, had our older daughter Sarah, 31 female, when we were 22. We were young and broke, but managed, and now we raised Sarah the best we could. She got pregnant at 15. It was a very depressing time for her. She had to go to therapy and never told us anything about the father, which always upset her, so we never pushed the issue. She originally wanted to terminate, but kept canceling, and eventually told us she wanted to give her up for adoption. But 5 months into the pregnancy, when she was discussing with a social worker for a couple to adopt, the couple dropped out of the adoption. After trying to find more couples, Sarah asked us if we wanted to adopt. Me and Rose were both 38 at this point, and we had both been discussing having another child, so we ended up adopting our daughter Ellie when Sarah had her at 16. 2 years after Ellie, my wife and I had our son Logan, 13, biologically. Growing up, we always planned on telling Ellie she was adopted, but we knew that by telling her that, we had to tell her Sarah was her bio mother. Sarah never became close with Ellie, not even as sisters. She moved out after the birth and lived with Rose's sister. She has always shown sisterly love to Logan, but never touched Ellie. There have always been conflicting feelings with Sarah. I've seen posts on Sarah's Instagram where she posted a picture of what was supposed to be the 5 of us, but Ellie was cut out. I confronted her about this, and she says it's too painful. However, a couple of years ago, she showed up drunk, begging us to let us see her daughter. We talked to her and let her stay, but did not let her near Ellie since she was drunk. We found out from her husband she had suffered several miscarriages and was told to consider a surrogate. She ended up doing that 4 years ago and has since had twins, Jack and Jill, 3, male and female, who are biologically hers. Ellie has loved being an aunt to the twins, and Sarah has encouraged this with Ellie, and has been inviting Ellie over to the house for family time with Logan, who loves being an uncle. We have asked Sarah that in light of the twins and Ellie being close to them, wouldn't it be time to tell Ellie the truth? But Sarah keeps claiming she's not ready. Recently, Ellie came to us and has told us she's pregnant. This time, it's a completely different situation. We have met the father. He is a childhood friend of hers, and they decided they wanted to lose their virginities to each other. We had the talk with Ellie long ago, as we did with Sarah. We approached the situation calmly and have since met with the father and his parents. Ellie is insistent on keeping the baby. She's 3 months along. We have not told Sarah yet. We do not know how to approach the situation. We don't know how she'll be able to take it. Me and my wife are considering telling Ellie the truth, but we need Sarah to be there. It sounds like it needs to happen because there's going to have to be legal forms filled out and names are going to have to be given for this. And I think pretty soon. But you're right. You need to let Sarah know that she has to be there. She has put it off long enough, and you should probably let her be there, but you two need to do the talking, I think. Story 2. Keep picking me for a random locker search? Meet my underwear. Many years ago, I worked for an outdoor activity center / playland in the retail department. Throughout the park, there were many different shops that we manned, and I absolutely loved working there, despite it being hard work for little pay. One day, I had a run-in with a manager who seriously berated me in front of the entire team, along with others from different departments. I was advised by a manager from a different team to make a formal complaint, which I did. Others came out with similar complaints and said the manager was advised to find employment elsewhere, but not sacked. Now, unbeknownst to me, I triggered the chain of events that would lead to my leaving the company. Now, before the main story, there's some background info that's relevant to my malicious compliance. There were a few rules in place that were designed to prevent theft, including no more than 10 pounds to be allowed on the shop floor, which was to be checked before your shift. Anything over this must be declared to management and left in your locker, and all staff had to agree to random locker/pocket searches. In the 2 years I worked there, I had never been picked for a random search. There were around several hundred employees, so the odds were incredibly slim. As soon as our disgraced manager left, I suddenly found myself picked at random for a search. This involved turning out my pockets, removing my shoes and socks, and then being escorted to the locker room to empty the contents out. Nothing was found, so I was sent back to the shop floor. The following week, I was again picked at random for a search, which again turned up nothing. Rumors were soon doing the rounds that I had upset the department's remaining management team after instigating the action against my former manager, and they were going to force me out using any means necessary. I realized that I needed to act, so started job hunting, and then began my malicious compliance. I started taking a backpack to work filled with 20 pounds in pennies. Every morning, I declared the amount in my locker as required, and sure enough, after a couple of days, I was once again selected for my weekly random search. I got paid to watch a security guard and supervisor count 2,000 pennies. As expected, I passed said search, and off I went. This happened a second time with now 30 pounds in pennies, and I decided to up my game. At the start of the following week, I patiently awaited my random search with glee, knowing what awaited them. The day soon arrived, and off I was marched to the lockers, ready for their treat. I lift out my backpack and pass it to the security guard and supervisor, who dived straight in without any gloves. Oh, how they watched as they discovered what was in there. I had several pairs of my period-soaked panties waiting in there especially for them. They were gingerly laid on the floor beside my bag as they counted my bag of pennies. The smell from the pants was unreal. They'd been festering in there for days in anticipation. Once again, the search revealed nothing, and off to work I went. After that, I was not picked for another search again. I left after a couple more weeks to a new job, and keeping in touch with some people, I discovered that a new rule was introduced that tried dictating what you could and couldn't take to work with you. This soon led to a mass walkout of staff, and after a year, the place was shut down due to unrelated matters. Yeah, right, unrelated matters. I don't think that's the case. And these rules were very invasive to begin with. They shouldn't have been allowed to be that invasive. I guess this was a place where you had to have work, and you had to work for this place, and you had to agree to their rules, but yeah, this was malicious compliance. If she had stuck out there quite a while later, she probably could have had a case against the current management for harassment and vindication or something like that. But yeah, I mean, and I don't know, as bad as they were, I don't know if they should have been subjected to biological warfare. I think the 30 pounds in pennies was enough, but yeah, at least it stopped them from random searches. Story 3. Entitled mother tries to kick me, ends up in an ambulance. This happened a few days ago. I had gone on my usual shopping with help from the staff, as the manager is a friend of my mother. They were dinner ladies in my old school and got along really well. Became friends. And so I always ask the manager that if anyone is free, I would appreciate the help, as I feel nervous being by myself due to my autism. Well, while I was shopping, an entitled mother kept trying to steal stuff from my trolley while I was comparing prices on products so I can last longer with my budget. I managed to catch the entitled mother a few times, and I asked why she was taking stuff I was buying. She said this: "You can always get replacements. Stop whining." I start getting stressed and breaking down as the entitled mother starts ripping into me about my stutter. Here are a few things she said. Stop talking. You're like a broken record. Are you... that's the R word. I'm not going to say that one. Do you need help to talk? You're pathetic. I start sobbing, and the manager is called over the radio. Karen is told to leave me alone, and that if she kept bothering me, she would be banned for harassing a disabled girl. Karen calls Teresa the N-word and a snitch and leaves. I managed to get myself together after Teresa and the manager helped me calm down. Teresa gets approval from the manager to run my trolley through to get the stuff on my shopping list. I always make a list before I get on the bus to the shop, while the manager keeps me company at the customer service tills. Teresa came back after about 5 minutes and helped me run the items through the checkout, with the manager taking 10% off my total as a discount for not losing my temper at the entitled mother we encountered earlier. A taxi was called for me, and I waited outside in the parking area next to where the old Blockbuster used to be. I still miss that place. Teresa comes out to make sure I'm doing okay. My eyes were a bit puffy and my face a bit red. The entitled mother from earlier comes to the parking area, apparently waiting for her boyfriend, and spots me. You, she screeches in a pitch so bad my ears were ringing. You little shrew! You caused me so much fracking trouble tonight. I'm gonna frack you up. Again, the R word. What she forgot was that I was sitting/leaning on the edge of those pole things on the edge of the parking areas. As soon as I moved when she went to swing a kick at me, a crunch was heard. She broke her fracking foot. I started laughing at how stupid she was for doing that, and Teresa scolded me, telling me that it was a little bit funny, but it wasn't the right time to laugh. The entitled mother is screaming for help and crying, "Assault!" An ambulance was called for her, and she screamed that she would see me in court. I start losing it a bit due to stress making my emotions go haywire, and I'm pulled away further down the parking area while she is treated to first aid while waiting for the ambulance. The ambulance takes her away, with police being called as well. The manager had shown police the CCTV footage of the parking area, showing all I did was dodge her. The entitled mother tried kicking me. The police chuckled a bit and asked to talk to me. I got help to call my aunt, who we will call Mandy, and she got the report from the manager. Mandy became my appropriate adult, I think it's called. She helped me answer questions when I struggled to get my words out. Police were done in about 10 minutes. Mandy offered to take me home instead of paying for a taxi. I felt guilty about the taxi, but said yes. I hugged the manager and climbed in the back of Mandy's car after loading my bags into the boot/trunk. I love my Aunt Mandy. Also, manager, if you're reading this, thank you for taking care of me. I'm sorry you had to tell my mom what happened. Still, I hope you're doing great. Love you, Roxy. Her nickname, not the real name. And yeah, there's all these people willing to help out someone who's struggling, and there's this other person just treating them like dirt. And all these other people are working in support of someone and just trying to help someone get through the day and get their shopping done. They've got purpose. This one woman is just tearing someone down. Why? For what reason? She really ended up with the short end of the stick here. And it broke her foot.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 4. You're firing me because the uniform you forced only me to wear flatters me? Okay, bye. My first job out of school was as a language teacher in a private school, and it sounds like it's straight out of a fiction book. I was employed to teach grades 6 to 9. However, because I was the only teacher for that language, the owner begged me to teach grade 1 to 5 when I had any time to spare. I wasn't paid for the extra work. I taught each of the classes I was employed to teach twice a week and the other classes once a week. Aside from that, lunch duties were added to my work, so I hardly sat all day. The school had a preschool at a different location, and all the teachers there wore uniforms. The preschool workers, all females, were the only ones required to wear uniforms. I was the only female teacher on the grade 1 to 9 staff. One day, the owner calls me to her office and asks me why I'm not in a uniform like the preschool staff. I told her no one informed me about wearing uniforms in my department, and also the male teachers do not wear uniforms. She gets slightly angry and orders me to sew one with my own money. I try to protest, but I see there's no way of getting through to her. My parents convinced me to let it go and sew one. When she sees me in the uniform, she goes off about how flattering the uniform is on me, telling me I'm trying to seduce the boys, and calls me a spicy paid worker. She orders me to sew a new one or don't come back. My uniform was not short, way below the knee. Didn't show cleavage, nor was it tight. I ignore her and she fires me a week later while I'm in the middle of a class. I just packed my stuff and left. The next day, the principal calls to tell me the owner is asking why I didn't show up that day. Duh, you fired me. She calls me herself and orders me to come back to work, talking about how I expect the kids to eat lunch. Good luck finding a donkey like me to work for that pittance. I went back, though, but not without double my pay. I then quit the next month. Hopefully you started looking and got a new job since then. That's just completely unreasonable. I'm sure the parents might have helped you find a lawyer to lawyer up on that. It was all totally unexpected. You were teaching classes off of your time, you were doing lunch duties, and you were wearing a uniform that was only meant for a preschool. It had nothing to do with the rest of the other grades. I'm glad you quit. Story 5. Friend's dad tried to steal my bra, and then friend finds the stash of her other friend's undergarments. So anyway, before we get into the story, my friend's dad was subsequently divorced. Turns out he was a child predator with loads of child porn on his laptop, and he is in jail. And had about 5 restraining orders after. The friends and the friends' parents he stole bras and panties from. Okay, how I found this out was at my friend's birthday sleepover. We were swimming in her pool and we drank some wine coolers with her mom's supervision. Still illegal. But we didn't get drunk, just slightly tipsy. So anyway, friend's dad had a strict no locked doors policy. Anyway, I decided to take a shower and of course, lock the door. I was bathing in my friend's bathroom, so I had her bedroom door shut and the bathroom door locked, if that makes sense. So I heard my friend's bedroom door open as I shouted, "Occupied," out of the shower. I got no response, except the door shutting quickly, which I thought was just one of the other girls walking in and seeing that I was in there. Anyway, I stepped out of the shower, and I stayed in the bathroom while I changed and dried off. All of a sudden, the bedroom door opened again, and when I said it was occupied, the person didn't stop and went straight for the bathroom door as they jiggled the handle extremely violently and pounded on the door once. I stayed silent as I thought there was someone in the house trying to get me. 10 seconds later, I hear the dad's voice yell, "Open this damn door right fracking now." I'm already changed into clean clothes as I stayed silent and slowly opened the door. "Why the hell is this door locked?" he shouted as I apologized and explained I was showering and I wanted privacy, and he said, "That's no excuse." I pushed that aside as I thought he was in a bad mood or something happened and he couldn't do anything because the door was locked. I stuffed my dirty clothes into my bag as I went back to the party, where we were all settling down with sleeping bags since the living room was big enough for us. I set my bag right next to me as I have some valuable stuff in my bag: phone, charger, money, etc. We watched movies up until around 4 in the morning, which is when we started to go to sleep. I get a strange feeling about being watched, so I stayed up for another hour on my phone. I fell asleep, and about an hour later, I hear rustling next to my head. I opened my eyes to see my friend's dad squatting next to me, rumbling through my bag as he pulled out my dirty bra and underwear as he stood up. I screamed at the top of my lungs as everyone woke up. My stuff was everywhere as the friend's dad quickly dropped my stuff. I screamed, "What the frack are you doing?" at him as everyone saw what he did and saw him drop my stuff. He tried to defend himself as his wife came rushing in. I was making sure you didn't have any illicit substances, was the excuse he went with. I ran over to the wife and explained what happened, as the dad was saying that I'm a lying skank and that I forced him to hold my stuff. He was high or on illicit substances, one or the other. As the husband was moved to a different room, and I explained to the friend what her dad did, and she told someone else, and I guess it spread around. Everyone was panicking as they were all making sure the man didn't take their panties and bras. Then I heard the husband scream, "She stole your underwear!" And so I called the police. Then 10 seconds later, I heard the wife scream as if it was just a trash show. We all ran over to her to make sure she was all right as everything started to go to chaos. Girls were crying and panicking because he had an area which his wife didn't know about, and there were name tags for each underwear pile, like Cindy's underwear, fake name. And there were semen stains on some of them. The police arrived and we explained to them what happened, and he was taken away. About a few months later, I went to court as my parents were pressing charges. I explained what happened, and we won the case. Then about a few months go by, and I was talking to my same friend, and she said her parents got a divorce and that her dad was in jail for child porn and harassment. No locked door policy when he has a secret area? That should have been a red flag right there. And I don't know. Do you think the wife was somewhat complicit for letting them drink wine coolers? And yeah, they didn't get drunk, but I don't know, man. And part of me just wants to leave the comments at that. What do you think?
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.